bonjour, and welcome to the Amateur Detective Club. This club is exactly how it sounds. A bunch of amateurs talking about their favorite mysteries. So if you encounter a real mystery or a murder, contact the proper authorities. Do not come to us. We do not know what we are doing. But enjoy the program. Allons-y. Let us begin.
I now call this meeting of the Amateur Detective Club to order. My name is Tristan Miller, the Saucy Sleuth.
I'm Melissa Meli, the Spy.
I'm Tyler Riley, cop and a half.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/ADCpod and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/ADCpod. I'm Terry Gross, and you're listening to Fresh Air. So the book I'm going to recommend is the novel on which this episode is based, Murder in Mesopotamia, which we have covered before. And if you want a more in-depth analysis of the story and the book, we have covered it. Go back into the feed and listen to that episode. Because we're going to be rushing through this because we got some scheduling stuff.
Listen,
it should be fun.
We're going to give you your ear's worth because it's not money. I mean, some of you might give us money, but you're going to get a podcast. It's going to be a good one.
Rushing through it? I thought we were in the Middle East this week.
Oh, boy.
We're not.
Criminy. Tyler, you wanted to talk about something that...
Yeah, so we've... So, like, the Golden Globes, like, the SAG Awards, like, everything just got pushed back, as it should. But, like, it just really, like, the awards, like, it just doesn't feel like any Oscar this year is, like, worth, like...
Ooh.
Like, I don't care about who wins Best Picture anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Like, I'm happy that work's getting, I guess, recognized, but by who? And like,
to what end?
Yeah.
It is very strange. It feels very strange because I feel like the awards I want to give out. I mean, listen, I loved The Queen's Gambit as much as anybody, but
oh my god,
yes, it's good. It's very good, and I'm glad that that's got some nominations. But as far as like other stuff that I've watched this year, like what's a new movie that I watched? I mean, I guess I watched Wonder Woman, but no. That's not an award. That's not an award movie. That's just I had some fun and watched Wonder Woman.
I'm sorry, but and then very funny.
I don't know what the solution is, but like I want to give some awards to the things that got me through this this wild year, like Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah, and. Gosh.
Star Trek, Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I did plow through. I finished DS9 in like March and then watched all of Voyager.
Oh,
and that was quite fun.
Yeah, Living Single should get everything that it did deserve during its original run. Jennifer Lopez is still has place on the mantle for that Oscar she was owed last year.
Was that last year?
Last year, yeah. Last Oscar season.
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, the Brandy Cinderella just came to Disney Plus.
Yes. I had full disclosure, COVID is not over. I found that out kind of the hard way-ish, not as hard. We were supposed to record, but I found out that I was compromised by a neighbor. I am now clear. My neighbor did have it and is doing well, but she's still recovering from COVID. But she came over because we were watching that Cinderella on DVD because it wasn't streaming anywhere. And then the next day, they announced it's going to Disney Plus the following week.
So you had a COVID scare because
Disney Plus was late in getting it to its streaming platform.
Oh no.
So
Well, I'm
Disney
glad.
Plus spreads COVID. You heard it here first.
Oh no! I'm glad you didn't end up having COVID, and I'm glad that the Brandy Cinderella is now on Disney Plus.
Here's my pitch. There is a mystery in it, and it's who is that girl that was at the ball? Can we review Brandy Cinderella?
We don't get enough of the investigation, though.
He goes around with the slipper. He goes around.
Yeah, in like the last 5 minutes.
So I want to rewrite. I'm going to re-edit it.
Oh boy!
Could you
The
imagine
2-minute Cinderella.
No. Could you imagine if that was the case? If like 40 minutes is this man wandering. What we need now is a version of Cinderella that really focuses on the prince. Men feel left out in media and unrepresented.
We know who the director would be. Quentin Tarantino.
There it
Yes,
is.
okay.
Yes, because the foot thing. I was forgetting about that foot thing.
Ugh. But yes,
That nasty man.
I don't yuck people's yum unless it involves violence or unnecessary bodily fluids.
That's fair.
And there's EW did a Zoom reunion with, I think, all of the living core cast.
What a time to be alive with all those people.
Yeah.
You ever think about that? What a gift.
Yeah.
So give a Best Picture Academy Award to Brandy's Cinderella posthumously. Not posthumously. The movie isn't dead. Retroactively? That's
Yes,
the word.
that's the word. That's the one.
What a mess. What a Mesopotamia, where our story is set.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think we open and it's nighttime.
Ooh. The scariest part. Time of day. Ooh.
I was honestly just talking to somebody very recently about like what would be the scariest thing in the world to me, and that's being like stranded in the dark at night, like in the ocean.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why
That is the most terrifying thing in the world to me.
Okay, so Poirot figures out who did it. I gotta go. Crimey. Why?
Because I found that scary, and we're talking about the night. But instead of being lost at sea, someone gets murdered at night in Mesopotamia.
Also scary.
Yes.
Very scary, yeah.
It seems like it was a deal that had gone awry. Yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly who's doing the bartering at this time, but it ends with he gets thrown off of the building, right?
Something like that.
I think so.
So he gets pushed and he's dead, and then it's
And
day.
then Hastings and Poirot show up, right?
Yeah, they're riding around with Hastings' nephew.
Yes. And Hastings' wife has asked Hastings to go away for a month because Hastings is Hastings.
Honestly.
And then as they're driving down, they pass a woman on a horse, which is very fun.
Sheila, right?
They get to the dig site because they're going to an archaeological dig.
Yes. And Agatha Christie, as I have mentioned before, had been on a lot of archaeological digs because her second husband was an archaeologist. So, first-hand knowledge.
Yes.
Anyway.
And they get there and they meet the guy who's in charge. What's in charge of it?
He's an American.
Quote unquote.
Dr. Leidner. He does an okay job with his
I thought it was great.
with his accent. It's pretty darn
It sounds just like my cousin. And maybe that's why.
Okay. All right.
Rich said, "Did this guy only study Bill Pullman?"
That's fun. Yeah, he just like has that thing where he hits his R's a little too hard. And that's it.
Yes.
But other than that, it's a very solid accent. I swear, I'm going to look him up, and I swear if he's actually from America. Anyway.
Ron Burglass.
Oh, there's no way he is American with that name.
Oh, please. America is full of last names that don't belong here.
Yeah, like Riley.
Exactly. That is a very English name. Thank you very much.
It is. Mm-hmm.
And spelled the English way, for those who have emailed me in the past and use the Irish spelling.
Oh.
Yeah, we're not going to get into this, Tyler. We can't get into this Irish
I
English thing
know.
that we
I
have
was
going.
leaving it there.
Anyhow, they get there. The guy's very warm. They put them. He puts them up. They have a couple of rooms at this dig site. We also meet the rest of the cast during this time. There's a older woman.
It's Mrs. Jones,
Me and Mrs. Jones.
right? It's something with or Johnson. It's either Jones or Johnson.
Johnson.
Okay.
It's Johnson.
Mrs. Johnson. There's Mrs. Johnson. A younger woman, Mrs. Leidner.
Louise.
Yes.
Mr. Leidner. Whom else?
Abdul, the little boy.
Abdul, the little boy. Very strange last name for Abdul.
I bet he
The
doesn't
little boy.
belong in America either, according to you, Tristan.
I said that, and I was like, that's a ticking time bomb. When is Tyler gonna give me crap? Anyhow, so there's, I think, one more person, right?
Oh,
There's,
Carrie,
the-
right?
The priest?
James Carrie. Yeah. Oh, what is his name?
There's a priest there as
Yeah,
well.
I can't remember his name.
Escapes me. Let's call him Father. Father? I hardly know him. Oh, God.
Father Lavinie.
So they're all there. They have a dinner. They get to know everybody. Poirot goes to his room, which he abhors because it's dank and dark and full of possibly mosquitoes. And he's like, there's no netting. And Hastings like, there's no water. And he's like, I don't care. Where's my netting?
Oh gosh, there's a much later scene in which Poirot is chasing a mosquito around. It's great.
Trey Bong.
And then he doesn't kill it.
No.
And he lets it out of the room
So
without
sweet.
killing it. I think it's just because he doesn't want to touch it.
I think so too. And then it lands on his neck and he swats it.
Yeah. And he's disgusted.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ron Burglass, who played Dr. Leidner, is, I am almost sure, British. But it doesn't really say on his IMDb page. It just says he acted in a lot of things in England.
They
so-
actually took down where he's from because they got confused because it was such a great American accent in this episode.
There it
He
is.
just sounds like he's from Connecticut. All right. So they had this dinner and then someone gets murdered again, right?
Oh,
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Quite the leap.
You know me.
So they go to bed after dinner,
Nice.
and Louis... Shut
Sleeps
up.
nice.
Louise gets woken up by like this noise next door, and then this face appears at her window. She
Right.
starts screaming hysterically. She calls for the nurse and then tells the nurse to like go find like these whole bunch of random people.
So Mrs. Leidner shares that she has a former husband who has been threatening her life. What happened was she married this guy like really early in their relationship, like days into their relationship. It was very Dharma and Greg. They met, they got married. I don't know.
Wait, you watched
bloody
Dharma and Greg?
As did I, almost
Yes.
every
Oh
morning.
my
yeah.
gosh, what is that show? I've
It's so weird.
Okay. Basically, a hippie marries a lawyer, and it's an odd couple, and that's it.
Oh,
Yeah. It's very fun,
Yeah.
though.
okay.
The premise of it is that they like met and then got married like immediately,
Yeah.
like that day.
Yeah. And her parents are wacky hippies. His parents are like straight-laced people. It's
Oh,
it's
okay.
Yeah.
that. But it's very
Yeah,
fun.
'cause, like I have heard about the show for years, but like just like Jag, like it's a show that just like happened, but I don't know a single person who had watched it before.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
No, I enjoyed Dharma and Greg for a while. They seem to have met and married pretty quickly. And he was then, like 3 days after their wedding, got shipped off to war. And then it came out that he was a spy and that he was going to be executed. And he seemed to have been executed. And so then when she starts dating someone else and is almost to get married, someone claiming to be her husband says, "You are mine. Don't you dare marry anybody else. I'll kill you."
Sing for me, angel of music.
Yeah, she's gotten these letters at various points throughout her life since then.
Like she suspects it to be her late husband's brother, but has no proof of that.
Right. And some people suspect that it's actually her writing herself the letters, and that she's just this. There's very much of like she's this hysterical woman.
She loves
Ugh.
the attention.
There's a lot of people, male and female, who get very testy with her because because she likes some attention.
Yes.
Which I don't. You know what? Some people like attention.
Also in the roundup, there's 2 young men. So she's receiving these threatening letters, and then she gets married to Mr. Leidner, and they stop.
Right. Yeah. She hadn't gotten one for a while until like
Yes.
a week ago. And then she's been seeing this face, which is a mask. It's a creepy mask in her window.
And it's Jason Voorhees, if you can believe.
For he is a jolly good fellow.
I know.
Come on, man. And that's the
whole episode. Da, 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 da.
Louise and Hastings are walking around and they see like this man they don't know like peering into the antiquities room. And like she like freaks out because colored people near her.
Yeah, and then the priest, he runs over to the priest. The man at the window runs away, and he bumps into the priest, and they exchange words.
Yes.
And then Hastings is like, "Hey, what the heck?" And he's like, "I'm working on my, I guess, Arabic, is it?"
Yes.
And he couldn't understand me,
yes.
which is like the
No.
worst lie.
Because he says that my Arabic is probably too proper.
Oh, what?
And I was like, how gross can we be?
How can you? Oh gosh, try to. Now I'm mad about something someone made.
Yeah.
up.
I mean,
Same. I felt that as well.
fair enough.
Ugh.
Yes.
Yes.
So then someone gets murdered.
Wait. No, we go into town.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are in town. Hastings' nephew drove Poirot and Hastings in, and they pick up mail to be sent out in town. And they find this letter written by Louise, and it's of a very similar handwriting to the note.
Mm-hmm. And is it during this time that where it's revealed that Poirot no longer wants to sleep on the property and he takes a hotel?
I don't
that
think
happens at some point.
Yeah, it happens, but I don't think at that point.
Okay. And then someone gets murdered?
Might as well.
I'm sorry. Remember,
it's fine.
Mrs. Leidner is found dead in her room, killed by some sort of blunt force.
Trauma to the head. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and she is discovered by her husband. And a scream was heard by Mrs. Johnson.
Yes.
But when she went out to investigate, she saw nothing amiss and returned to her room.
Right. Later on, there's a very funny sequence with Mrs. Johnson and Hastings where they try to recreate the scream, and she is in her room like making noise, and Hastings like runs away, and he comes back and says, "Did you scream? I didn't hear it." "Yes, I did." "Oh, okay. Why don't you scream a little louder this time?" She's like, "Oh, all right." And it continues. It's very fun.
And the result of that is the only way it was heard is when the window was open.
Yes.
But when they had investigated her room, the window was shut.
Correct. So the investigation occurs.
They begin to suspect Louise's relationship with Mr. Carey, who is a part of the excavation group.
Yes. And also some antiquities go missing, as does the priest. Poof. So he's out of the picture. So there's some suspicion also off of the young man who is having an affair with Louise. Then there's also suspicion cast on, obviously, Dr. Leidner, but he has an alibi because he was on the roof during the time of the murder.
There's also a young man who it seems has been taking drugs.
Yes.
And, because he's been taking drugs, he's suspected, I'm pretty sure is the reason.
Yeah.
And he turns up with a gunshot to the head a bit later. And he has died in an apparent suicide.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then someone tries to set Mrs. Johnson up by leaving the blunt object, which turned out to be a millstone, in her luggage.
Under her bed, but
Oh,
yes,
okay.
in her room. And also I guess maid, he speaks with Mrs. Johnson, who has a note in her pocket that falls out that matches similarly to the note that was found threatening Mrs. Leidner, and Mrs. Johnson burns it in front of her, which is not suspicious at all. And then the millstone shows up, and so they're like, okay, kind of seems this way.
Yes. And then after the funeral, Miss Johnson is heard screaming.
Yes.
And she has blood coming from her mouth. It's very upsetting. And
It's so awful.
yeah, it's really awful. And Poirot quickly figures out that someone substituted the water glass she keeps by her bed for hydrochloric acid. And I'm a person who keeps water by my bedside every night. And if you switched it with hydrochloric acid, I drink that accidentally.
Good to know.
Yeah, so I've just given everyone a good way to murder me, I guess. But yeah, she dies.
Yeah. Full on just gets her innards boiled out of her. Disgusting and horrible. Absolutely. Like, there are some sometimes pretty gruesome things that happen on the show, but this is specifically horrific.
Yeah, like, I don't even know who I would wish that on.
Yeah. Nobody. And Poirot tries to get her to talk a little bit, and she says something that he can't really comprehend.
The window.
As it turns out later.
Yeah.
And then the young woman, suspicion is also cast on her at one point because she is very rude. She's like, I didn't like her, and I think she's better off dead. Which is
a
super cool
John
thing.
Cusack movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. But she's absolved because she has a good alibi. She was at the tennis court, and she was like, ask anybody. And it turns out that it wasn't exactly the truth.
It's such a flex to the people
is.
that decide after someone's been murdered that they're going to loudly proclaim how it's no crime to be happy that they're dead. It's like, okay, yes, fair enough, but like maybe keep it quiet for just a little while until they do figure out who killed them.
Keep it cute. Put it on mute.
Exactly.
Also, before she perishes, Mrs. Johnson, Hastings, and Poirot meet on the roof, and she says, I have something to tell you, but we have to wait till later because I need to test it out first. And then she immediately dies, which is mad sus, as the kids say.
That's right.
They do be saying that.
They do be saying that. And I do also believe that it is after Poirot hears the words, the window, that he decides to come back and stay at the compound, the archaeological site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hastings is off-put by this because it seems out of character for Poirot. But he does it to try and investigate what happened, and he's staying in Mrs. Leidner's room, is that correct?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
To kind of like get the vibe of it.
He gets stung by a mosquito.
He does get stung by a mosquito. He puts everything together. Yep. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this very rapid summary of Murder in Mesopotamia by Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie's Poirot, Murder in Mesopotamia. You can go to scavengersnetwork.com, check out all the great content they have there, such as podcasts, live streams, and other goodies. You can go to teespring.com/themill if you want to buy anything based off of our podcast. I'm also going to look into I made a puzzle recently. I didn't make a puzzle. I've completed a puzzle, and I'm going to try and make some custom puzzles based off of our artwork.
Ooh.
And I'll keep you abreast of that situation.
You can find us on social media at ADC Pod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you want to send us an email, we're amateurdetectiveclub@gmail.com.
Head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/adcpod. For as little as $1 a month, you can receive access to bonus episodes and content. All the benefits of our membership levels also includes Discord, Why choose that chord when you can choose Discord? There you can chat along with your fellow amateur detectives. There we can, put up things in Discord.
Send each other memes.
Yeah, things of that nature. Memes, GIFs.
Man.
But be sure to be respectful or you'll get yeeted from our Discord. Visit us at patreon.com/ADCpod today.
Patreon, it's what's for dinner. As is legally required by me of the state of California, I must say, butt soup. Back to the show! All right. So, basically what happens is this. Poirot rounds everybody up, goes through why it couldn't have been each person, and who it was is Dr. Leidner.
The wild thing is, Dr. Leidner is Louise's former husband.
Girl, you playing.
This is maybe Agatha's most wild conclusion.
Oh, I love it so much.
Anything.
It's so weird.
So he changed his name, took a name of a dead guy, tracked her down, and remarried her.
And she didn't recognize him at all.
Did not. He grew a beard in her defense.
I know,
and I
those
think
beards.
he put on an accent. He put on an American accent because they're an English couple. And so he's been doing that accent for years, which is why it's so good.
Actually, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. So the way he killed her is basically he got a millstone that had a hole in it, measured out a bit of rope, called her to the window, and swung the millstone and smashed her face in. It's absolutely gruesome.
Yeah.
Then moved her body and then snuck back out and pretended to have an alibi.
Yeah. And the reason he did it is because when she was getting friendly with Richard Carey, that was when, because he was serious about his threat of like, you're mine. If you marry anybody else, I'm going to kill you. But of course she didn't marry anybody else. She married him again. So that was okay. But when she started getting flirty with Richard Carey, nope, can't have that. And so she must die because if I can't have you, nobody can.
She said, I'm just wild about Carrie, and Carrie's dead. Just kidding.
No,
he lives.
Yeah, Carrie's alive. She dies, though.
Yeah.
She does die. For whatever reason in my mind, I was like, the reason he kills her is because she does remarry to him, and like he's that delusioned. And I was like, that doesn't make sense, Tristan. What a weird, and also like, why would he wait that long to do that?
Yeah.
But yes, the priest was stealing some artifacts from the. Oh wait, no, someone else disguised as the priest was stealing the artifacts from the dig.
Yeah, and he had done it elsewhere as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so there's this other weird subplot that is specific to the show and not to the book, that the Countess that was a sort of an old flame,
right.
we remember from the TV show of Poirot, has been like kind of getting him to try and meet her, but she never turns up. Poirot keeps going to try and see her and she never turns up. But they're at the hotel after all of this has gone down, and Poirot is greeted with a message of regret that she couldn't see him this time, but could you please settle her bill for her because she is a con artist.
Yes.
And he does.
It's absolutely phenomenal.
Because he loves her, I guess. Yep. And that is the episode.
I give it a 5 out of 10. I thought it was serviceable. I think I actually preferred the book better. I thought like the crime is just wild, as we all know. Like anything short of the 1990s face-off movie, I don't get how she doesn't realize that this man is her man. I thought the mosquito swatting scene, like, sure, fine, whatever. It didn't do anything for me, but I could see how people could find it enjoyable. I thought Mrs. Johnson was a lot of fun.
Yes. The real MVP of this episode.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just writers do better. I mean, I know that, like, the show's over, but, like, when a little boy has a friend that he's meeting up with, it's not his Arab friend, it's his friend. Mm-hmm. And we had, like, a lot of just, like, random oh, go tell that Arab gentleman.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, this was in 2001.
Yeah,
this
like,
episode.
we knew better.
100%. I give it a 6, but that's from the writing of, like, a 6 or a 7. It was very enjoyable, but it comes from the writing of the book of, like, how wild the crime is and the resolution there. I enjoyed the mosquito scene. That's pretty much it. It's a very solid episode of Poirot. Nothing wonderful, but nothing terrible.
I am going to give it, we're doing out of 10 for this one.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 6 also. I feel like this one starts out so promising, and then it's a long walk to the husband did it, which is fine and can happen. It's just because it's so the resolution, there could have been something so interesting in there, and it is interesting. It's just highly implausible, in a, like, not in a way that they earn, like, it just does not feel like it's possible that she doesn't recognize her husband, and it's
so strange. You make love to me the exact same way as my first husband.
Yeah, seriously.
And did we need an hour and a half to tell this?
I don't think we did. And I think that's
we did it in 45 minutes. So
yeah, and I think that's my biggest problem with this. And I think it was my biggest problem with the book too. Is that it could have been a short story.
So overall, fine, adequate.
Yeah.
Kind of disappointing for the series 8 finale. Series 9.
Well,
whatever we're on.
but when there's
Series 8.
when there's only 2 episodes in in a season, then
Yeah.
there's only so much you
Only
can
so
do.
much to be done.
Exactly.
Next week on the Amateur Detective Club.
Aha.
Agatha and the Truth of Moida.
Whoa. Moida.
In 1926, with her writing in crisis and her personal life in tatters, a young Agatha Christie decides to solve a real-life murder. When the goddaughter and namesake of Florence Nightingale is found murdered on a train with horrific head injuries, the victim's partner of 26 years appeals to Agatha to solve the case.
And it's our 100th episode, so say to us congratulations and send us presents.
Yes. Like 5-star reviews. And with that, I call this meeting of the Amateur Detective Club to a close.
Gavel sound.
And we're done.